This is how we're going to set up my nephew who's just been born for financial success. So lately we've been going through a bit of a transition in our whānau where we are focusing on financial literacy and setting up our whole whānau for financial success, because as we know, amongst us Polynesian people, money isn't something we talk about regularly. So we want to change that. We want to change the conversations. We want to normalize it. And this is how we're doing it for our nephew Aiokiwa. So he's just been born. He's like a couple of weeks old. And we've decided that we're going to set him up a shares account. And how we're going to set up his shares account, it's pretty easy. So there's a link in my bio. You can follow that. To set it up, chuck in his IRD number, and then you go from there. So the stock that I've chosen to invest in is the Vanguard S&P 500, which is an ETF. So it's pretty much just a stock that replicates a group of companies from the US. And so it's the top 500 companies from the US. And this particular stock has performed really well over the last few years. Do your own research if you want to get into it. This is just my experience. So the S&P 500 over the last 30 years have returned roughly 10% per year, so I've decided to go with it. It's hands-off investing. As I mentioned, it involves a whole lot of 500 companies, which gives you diversity. You get a dividend every year, and it's performed really well in the past. So I don't have to think about it. I can just put my money there, and it'll do its thing. So that's what we're going to do for Aiokiwa. And so how we're going to start the investment is, instead of our whānau buying presents for him, we're going to flip the script, and that same money we would have put towards presents, like toys and that, we're going to put into shares instead. And the idea behind this is to let it grow, let it compound over the years, and by the 21st year, he'll have, I just ran the figures, so he'll have a whole lot of money anyway. So we'll go through the figures. Shout out to ChatGPT. So I've got in here, instead of whānau buying Aiokiwa presents, we're gonna put that same money into shares over 21 years. So the information I've given it is so initial investment is $250. So I'm gonna chuck it up in the whānau group chat. Hey whānau, this is Aiokiwa's shares account. Here's the details. Send them whatever you can, whether it's $5, $2, it doesn't matter, because you can start with as little as 10 cents. So yeah, we're going to do that, and I've assumed that the initial investment, which is the first amount of money we're going to put in, will be $250. So that's my first assumption. So we're starting with $250, and then from then on, we've got a birthday and we've got Christmas. So instead of him getting birthday or Christmas presents, we're going to put that same money into shares, which I've mentioned. So I've put in here initial investment of $250, and then for every year, he's going to have 20 whānau, spending $10 on him. So if 20 whānau, $10 for each present that each whānau member gets, that's $200. And then we've got two presents, remember, because we've got the birthday and the Christmas present. So that works out to be $400. So 20 whānau members spending $10 on him twice a year equals $400. So if I recap, we got $250 initial investment, which is from the whānau because I opened his account, and then every year the whānau are putting towards him $400. Now, I've put in over 21 years, what will this figure come to? Because when he's 21st and he's financial literate, because we've put the time into him and taught him about money, he'll be ready to get his money. So the S&P 500 has performed 10% returns yearly, but we've gone conservative because, yeah, it's got to be conservative with it. So I've assumed a 7% return every year. And so with this money we're putting in, we're having to only fork out $8,500 over the years of getting presents and that. But by the end of the 21 years, with the 7% growth each year, Aiokiwa is going to have around $19,000. Now, if we go off the historic performance, which is 10%, he'll actually end up with $31,000. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So if us whānau, instead of buying him presents, buy him shares in the S&P 500, over 21 years, he could possibly have $19,000 to $31,000. Wow, that's mean. That's on. So yeah, that's what we're thinking at the moment. Just waiting on Mariah to send his IRD number, and then once we get that set up, we'll get the initial investment from the whānau, And then we're going to make it a habit yearly. So instead of buying him presents, we're going to buy him shares. And the most important thing, I think, as we do this is to educate other whānau members on financial literacy so that they have the tools to implement that, for themselves, for their kids and their kids. And make this the normal thing that we yarn about over the table, like, oh, how's your shares going? Oh, I just got paid out of dividends from such and such, etc. So yeah, that's what we're up to now, whānau. And I'll let you know how it goes. These are just thoughts, but I think, yeah, this should be normalised, eh? Fuck, man, imagine if you got 21 grand at 21. Whoo, that'll be on. And yeah, anyway, I'll suss you out in the next video. Cheers.